Live, more or less, from Las Vegas. This is Good Sports with Mark Anthony. I'm Rick Rosen. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the nightmare, I guess, man. If you're FIFA, gonna forward your mail to like some prison system somewhere. Mark, half their hierarchy went to jail, and they had to post bail, and I think they're all out of jail. I don't think it was overnight for any of them, but between the Swiss authorities, and who would ever thought that the Swiss would have a problem with people hiding money?
Yeah.
But this is the group that tolerated Adolf Hitler. So, but the FBI got involved, and Interpol, and they said, hey, we got screwed out of what led to this is we were hoping to host a World Cup. And it went to United Arab Emirates or Dubai, I believe it was, is going to host the World Cup instead. And they found out that we didn't pay enough. Our bribes weren't of the caliber that the oil-producing countries could produce, and so we kind of got burned for it. And somebody started an investigation, and they're not real smart in covering their tracks. Nothing goes unreported or unrecorded anymore. And sure enough, these guys are going to prison. But Seth Blatter, the president, like he didn't know. Oh, we're going to clean up these guys under us. Yes, everybody else is getting bribes, and nobody's passing anything to you. Let's go back. Think of The Godfather. Think of Don Corleone. Sonny's rich, and Michael's rich, and even Fredo gets laid now and again because he's good at this money thing. None of it goes to Don Corleone. That's what they're wanting to ask us to believe.
Yes.
And only a fool would believe that. Seth Blatter's going to prison. If any of them are, he is. He's a guy who's a very autocratic, so he's a despot. That's all it is. Sometimes he's a kindly, benevolent despot, but nonetheless, he's a dictator. He has the world by the balls, and he's got a lot of the third world countries, which FIFA, in and of itself, outdistances with money made the gross domestic product of like 30 countries that are in FIFA don't make the money in their governments, in their countries, that FIFA does. And so it's an obscene amount of money that they're talking about changing hands. And so that's going to be the big story for the rest of the year or 2 years or whatever it is. I'm sure now that we have attorneys involved, it's going to be like a guy on death row. 10 years from now, we might actually scare the crap out of him. But for the next few years, everything's going to be status quo.
Well, it's just, sitting here with, the guy we have as president of America, it's like the same playbook.
How did this be an Obama thing? You are a damn Republican, dude.
Well, okay. Let's go back to Clinton. Half of Clinton.
What does Obama have to do with FIFA?
Because
he wanted the college football system here in America to change, and that didn't. Oh God! This is so not an Obama thing. There's a lot of shit the guy does that we can blame and whatever. Oh Lord, this is the rest of the world did this.
I didn't know.
We're Johnny-come-latelys to this process.
Well,
but it's not an Obama thing.
Okay, it is, but I'll let your age.
How is it an Obama thing? That's all. If you're going to say it, let's hear your facts. Let's hear your theory. How is this possibly an Obama thing?
I didn't know what's going on. I didn't know what's going on in my White House. I didn't know what Hillary Clinton was doing. I get my news from the news. I don't know what goes on anywhere in the world. George Bush did it. George Bush did it. George Bush did it.
So, Mark, I'm almost positive that a guy who's worrying about ISIS and finishing up the 2 wars that George started and didn't finish, and doing all these other things, maybe, just maybe, soccer got lost in the cracks. Just slipped through there. And come on, it's not. It's silly to think this is a political thing. No. If it is, then the Queen of England and all the other, your buddy Netanyahu. Bibi, Netanyahu, hey, Israel wanted part of this deal. They play soccer. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you that Canada is part of this deal. So
settle down,
you know,
settle down.
all right.
It just
it's not, but of all things, it's not Obama thing.
Yes, it is. But listen to me. It's
oh dear God, Mark. It is so. You could not be more wrong if you tried. This is a worldwide thing. We were so far behind soccer-wise. You know, we fucked up Pele coming to America and exciting people about soccer with the Cosmos. So soccer is still a very, very much of an afterthought. It makes money, but it doesn't make money for everybody. It's if this was the NFL. You can say, okay, Obama should have gotten involved and we should have known or whatever. But, you know, honest to God, this is a corruption thing.
Yes.
It's like blaming the mafia in Sicily on him. Okay, you know, I mean, the guy, yes, he was in office when this shit happened, but, it's a totally, it's a political thing of a sports organization. The politics are incredible. And, I sat on the board of directors for Boxing USA in Colorado, and you talk about a bunch of people who have separate agendas and have their own best interests at heart. And, I've sat in meetings where I'm one of 15 people, and I'm the only guy that ever said, what about the kids? Well, how is this going to benefit or to the detriment? How is it going to be to the detriment of the kids? And then people would go, well, yeah, I guess, people have that attitude. What am I sticking in my pocket? And that's where it comes from. And this does not go to, I don't think, the head of any government other than those that, okay, like I say, in
I didn't
Dubai,
say government.
Well, that's what you say when you say about our president. Listen, I know you don't like the guy, but a majority of Americans did and elected him twice. So, if you expect me to live by the results when a prick I don't like Dick Cheney, gets elected to office, I expect you to live with the results, okay, however good or bad they are, simply because democracy has spoken. So that's how this is. This is not a Republican Democrat political thing by any stretch of the imagination. Seth Blatter, again, when you're a big enough organization, it is a government in and of itself. If all he needs is some property to have to establish a government, maybe an army and a little bit of a navy, and some Secret Service guys that like blowjobs and cocaine, and he'd be set.
Exactly.
Those are things we talk about Obama. Listen, when your Secret Service is screwing up, you should notice. You should be able to look around and say, where's that guy that normally stands behind me with the gun in case somebody's in front of me with the gun? Oh, he's over there with the hooker. Those things he should notice. Soccer, not so much. This is, but it's going to be a big story, Mark. It's already a big story, and it's going to be a much bigger story elsewhere than here. The only reason it's a big story in America is because we're the ones that finally got it done. This is not new news that they take bribes. The new news is that somebody
got caught.
Somebody had the wherewithal to catch them, and whether it's an NSA type thing, I would not be surprised to hear that we intercepted phone calls or some type of communications, which they're very able to do. We got them from Osama bin Laden. We can certainly get them from Seth Blatter and these morons that run soccer. They've made soccer as a worldwide sport. It's bigger and better, and people die every year because they're so passionate about soccer. But it's wrong what they're doing. If you got something, if you got your money's worth out of a bribe, but think how many people bribed these guys and didn't. I mean, it's not just like the winners were the only ones that did it. So that's where the problem comes in this scheme. What about the guy that finished second, thought they were going to get it and didn't? That's us, the Americans. And we gave it to Dubai anyway because they had greener money. Okay, right. Well, you know what? Somebody got pissed off finally enough to do something about it. And it's this dirty little secret. It's the uncle that touches kids, after Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, somebody and didn't say nothing. Eventually, some kid's going to say, "Hey, get your hand off my nuts," and then that opens that thing up, and nobody can ever put the genie back in the bottle. So it's gonna have ramifications, but I don't think they're going to be immediate. Other than now they're on notice, and maybe for the next round of World Cup, I think they're already set for the next at least 3. Which comes like the Olympics, at least 3 or 4, Mark, are already given out, and the talk is that they may rescind those things and put it up to a revote, But I don't know if there's a good way of them saving face or whatever. They don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. They're sticking millions and millions and millions of dollars in their own pockets, and you know, I mean, does Seth Blatter look like a guy that played a whole hell of a lot of soccer? If he was blue, he'd be a frickin' Smurf. I mean, he just, not that soccer's known for Amazons and monsters, but he's just a little fire plug of a guy who, running a pyramid scheme, and maybe they'll let him roommate with Bernie Madoff.
Well,
they talk about the number of people they screwed.
When I lived in Atlanta is when Atlanta got the bid for the Olympics. And
the Olympics, you bet.
Yeah.
And I bet they paid dearly for that, too.
Yes. And this kind of is a flashback to that because the Olympics got exposed for the exact same thing. The story of how Atlanta got the Olympics, I mean, it was an outwardly thing. These guys just went from member to member, sending them to strip clubs, sending them cash, buying their daughter's Mercedes Benzes, and and everyone just went, and it was so funny because everyone just kind of sat there and went, and this is wrong, really?
This is how they do business. Yeah. One of the things that is really funny that it does have a Las Vegas connection or whatever, Mark, is that they almost always there are hookers and prostitutes at some point, or hookers or prostitutes, whichever you choose to call them, that are involved in this process. A guy sitting on the fence or whatever, and they send up Wonder Lily, the lady with 2 vaginas, and the deal is done. And money and all that, everything else seems to almost take a second place when they start producing women to take care of these guys. And this is always kind of the dirty little secret too, they have to provide, from what I understand, there are not everybody that's involved in this process of giving the rights to an Olympics or World Cup soccer, or there are several world events like that. That sometimes people that are involved in an all-male sport happen to like males. And so the gay prostitutes that they send up really have them by the short ones, because now not only are you dealing with prostitutes, you're dealing with you're gay. Yes, and you either have to come out of the closet, whatever. Our friend Greg Anthony, who has been a longtime friend of Good Sports and all the different shows that I did. What a tremendous young man he was at UNLV. The point guard that brought the championship back to Las Vegas, he put everybody together and got them all on the same page and ran the show, and he paid a hooker. It wasn't like he raped somebody who was unwilling. He simply approached a hooker who happened to be an undercover cop. She sure looked like a hooker, and did nothing any more than that, and lost his job. And how the moral police. Morality police went after him with a vengeance. And he's Greg Anthony. This is a guy who offered to turn back his scholarship because he'd started a business with a young man from University of Colorado named Eric Bieniemy. And there was one other person in this business, but a local radio broadcaster, Mike Pritchard, played on that CU team. And Greg Anthony had his business, and I still have one of the garments that they made. And the NCAA made them stop producing these things that had nothing to do with either university. They were making garments with, it was like if it said Duke on the front. I didn't mean you went to Duke. And they made them. They said that they were going to. He would not have any eligibility and whatever. And they forced them to divest themselves of this business. And he had offered to give his scholarship back. It would have let at least one more person go to college that otherwise would not have been able to. And really stupid things. The NCAA. If we think FIFA is corrupt, which they are, and I will say that and hope that somebody sues me for saying it, and let's go to court. I'll just stand there with no proof whatsoever other than here it is. You prove that I'm wrong, and they couldn't do it. Right. The NCAA makes FIFA look like pikers.
Oh God, yeah.
These guys are frickin' Cub Scouts compared to the Eagle Scouts that the NCAA are, as far as just inept and corrupt to the point of absolute ridiculousness. And the billions, with a B, billions of dollars that they make from other people's efforts
Yep.
and are so reticent to share. It's a terrible, terrible injustice. There's kids that not just the ones that die. I mean, God bless those anybody that gives their life for a sport, whether it's baseball. In the last week, two youngsters, a 15-year-old young man, and I believe it was a 15-year-old young lady yesterday. She had a cerebral hemorrhage and died on the field playing. She told her coach, "I don't feel well. I feel dizzy," and collapsed and died. And the kid earlier in the week got struck by a batted ball, come off of a metal bat and hit this kid, and they can't even find the mark where it hit him. At least that was the initial thing. They're not sure. There was no video recording of it. Amazingly enough, of all things to go unrecorded.
Yeah.
But this kid had moved back. His folks had moved away, and he'd been on this traveling team since he was 10. And he moved back to stay with his grandparents for the summer to be on this traveling team, and was struck by a baseball, and it didn't look to be that serious, and he died. So they're not sure whether it hit him in the head or hit him in the body. But when my son Jim was pitching, left-hander who exposes that, when you throw it that side, that's the part that you get out there first, and that's the side where your heart is. So they're a little more prone to damage from a batted ball. I bought Jimmy a plate that fit right here under his jersey, and it was some dad had invented it because he lost his son, and it keeps the balls from hitting kids. I guess it was hitting him in the solar plexus and killing him on balls batted back. I mean, not that it's a good thing to get hit in the face with the ball, but your face will heal. That's rarely a death sentence. But anyway, this has been a real tough week for people that participated, people that die. God bless them. But if you think back to the injuries. And now they're making this big push about concussions, Mark, and it's affected the NBA finals. Klay Thompson's going to miss because they're even afraid to say the concussion word because it's an automatic puckered up, and everybody
right.
It's not so much suspended. You can't play in the next game until you're cleared, and so it's an effective suspension. But they have all those kind of things in place. So kids can help them make more money. But once those kids graduate or are no longer in college, they don't give a damn. And there's guys walking around with these injuries, whether it's a knee or ankle or something like that, or shoulder problems and whatever. And once they're done, they have these things for the rest of their lives. And the NCAA brings in billions of dollars and doesn't take care of these kids after the fact. One of the teams that I'm hooked up here with in Las Vegas, Mark, is the Vegas Lions, and they're a pro football team. They pay these kids, and they have insurance. And I see Jeff Belknap and Bill Miller, the two owners. I've seen each of them. First thing when we get out on the field, go check on somebody that was injured. How you doing? What do you need? What can we do? I've seen Bill dig into his pocket and hand somebody some money for pills or aspirin or whatever it is. At least they have some semblance of we give a damn about you if you gave your knee or whatever to us. This year there's some system for you, but the NCAA does not do that. And I mean, my God, how else do you define a pro athlete as somebody? Well, we give you a scholarship. You can go to college in America. Between student loans and Pell Grants and this and that and begging on standing on the corner and begging, I don't care. If you want to go to college bad enough in America, you can go. So saying, well, we give these guys a scholarship, well, big deal. They could have got that on their own. They could have gone to college on their own. Right. What are they really getting in return? Well, you got a great education, which was only interrupted by football practice and the travel to and from the games and basketball because they play so many more games in the same conference. I mean, you're talking about a long time out of your educational process that you can never make up for. If you have to miss Friday, you don't ever hear the questions that somebody else asked that you might not have thought of, but will open up this world, this idea, this concept. Oh, that's what they mean, and you miss out on that any day that you miss in school. And so for these people that do that and are injured, Mark, and don't get anything in return, I think the NCAA far surpasses FIFA. FIFA is only every 4 years. This nonsense when the NCAA is 24/7, 365 every single frickin' year.
Yeah. Totally agree with you on that one.
It's a tough deal, but you can't blame Obama for that neither. I think a lot of, well, I'm just saying, you were about to.
No, you took it
a
in that
couple
rant.
things. Adrian Peterson, your buddy from Minnesota. As I said before, I don't see any way for him to be a member of the Minnesota Vikings anymore and have to play half his games at home and hear the stuff that I don't think it would be is, he's going to be the new guy and we're going to give him a fresh start and cut him some slack in a new place. Yeah, he's going to hear it for the rest of his life. Yeah. He's going to hear it from defensive linemen and backs and linebackers. I mean, it's not anything that's going to just go away anytime soon, but it will it will be much lessened with him out of Minnesota. I don't think he's going to be effective there. He's not happy. He wants to go, and so it's kind of like both of us have been through divorces, Mark. When it's over, it's over.
Yes.
I guess you can tie somebody up and tie them to the chair, but the marriage is over. Now you're a hostage. And if that's what they're doing with Adrian Peterson, he went through the court system. He did all the things that they asked him to do. Ray Rice isn't even facing charges, and you've seen him knock her the F out. In an elevator, and Roger Goodell played. You said Obama should be aware of this and that, and who's doing what, and Hillary, and yeah, there's some truth to that, Mark. I think there's some validity to that argument. But how can Roger Goodell not be aware of football players? It's like he's not dealing with ISIS, and he's not dealing with hunger, and he's not dealing with Russia and Putin. He's dealing with just football, just frickin' football. It's a game, and his big move was to give Tom Brady a suspension for something that they allow other parts of their game to adjust the air in a football, but not the quarterback. So, yeah. I guess that's the rant. What'd you think of the Indy 500?
Didn't watch it.
You didn't miss much. It was not that terrible unsafe race that you would think they as the lead up to it, they were afraid all those cars were going to get up in that catch fence marker, they were catching some big air. Helio Castroneves and Joseph Newgarden and James Hinchcliffe was hurt, and Ed Carpenter. 3 of those 4 got upside down in the week leading up to the Indy 500, and there was some real concern that when you get 33 cars out there, somebody's going to get airborne. And they said it was the aero package. And, you turn an airplane upside down, it flies into the ground instead of up to the clouds. And so that's basically what happened. So anyway, it was a fairly safe race. They had a couple of incidents, but no more than any other Indy 500. No fires in the pits. No the worst thing that happened, somebody got tapped. Going into their pit or coming out of the pits and caught the crew in front of them. The 2 guys had their backs. You know how it is on pit stops. Yeah. They had their backs to the traffic, and the front wing took a couple guys out. One of them was okay. He was hobbling around, but he was okay. But the other guy, I mean, it chopped his legs, and so I know he's got some serious injuries, and that was probably the biggest mar of the race, other than Jim Neighbors didn't sing Back Home Again in Indiana. They had an a cappella group do it, and so it's like when your mama drives you past McDonald's and said, "I'll make you one just as good when we get home," and she starts putting cracker crumbs and egg in the hamburger, and you get it on 2 slices of bread instead of a bun. Yes, it is hamburger and bread, but it's not the same as a Mickey D's. So
that's right. Hey,
yeah. So anyway, that and the World 600, our buddy Carl Edwards, he of the backflip, finally won a race for his new team, and is qualified for the chase for the Cup. Some of the guys are having a tough time. Tony Stewart, as I told you, I don't know if he's ever going to be the same, and he just looks. There's just something missing from Tony's game that was there before. The incident where the man was killed. Kevin Long, I believe it was.
Yeah, he checked out. Yeah. UFC.
So yeah, it's a strange season. We're almost halfway through the NASCAR season. I mean, It runs till November.
Yeah. And UFC Ronda Rousey?
UFC Ronda Rousey is going to be in a movie, or she's in a movie, and she's be in a couple more. And one of the things about Ronda Rousey is there was talk, just like they talked about Kentucky, they could play in the NBA. These guys could take on an NBA team right now and be competitive and BS. Ronda Rousey can't fight a guy and have much of a shot. Now, she has a better shot than most people simply because of her jiu-jitsu and her judo knowledge. So she has something that very few other women have, but striking is not her forte. A woman's hands are not physiologically built to withstand the damage that it takes from hitting another human being in the damned head. Your head can take it's shaped like an egg for a reason. You know, you can stack a whole bunch of Encyclopedia Britannicas on top of an egg and it won't collapse. And that's one of the reasons God made our heads look like eggs. And when you punch somebody in the head, whatever it is, it hurts your hands. And women are just not able to have that problem, that much force, on their hands without having some real damage. So, anyway, Ronda Rousey's not going to fight guys anytime soon. She's pretty good on the screen, from what I understand. I don't think anybody's ever going to mistake her for Olivia de Havilland or Sharon Stone or any of the great actresses of our time. But she was in a movie for a reason, and she did it, and she's very good in it. And so, she played Ronda Rousey in the movie. Now, I don't know if she's good at playing some of the roles, but, a guy that kind of come out of the woodwork that's doing pretty good is like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Oh, man.
And he's in movies, and he's a pretty talented guy. And I think, if you look at that genre, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and these guys all came out of weightlifting or karate or whatever, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson came from wrestling to pro wrestling, if that's what you really want to call it, and he does a pretty darn good job. He's in the Fast and the Furious and those kind of things, and a lot of people, he says, people confuse him for Vin Diesel. I don't see it, but okay. If and you say so, I believe you.
Okay. A-Rod. A-Rod's doing good, even though he claims he's not on steroids.
Well, he's not on. Listen, if you're going to make a safe bet, it's that A-Rod's not doing steroids now. He had enough that you realize that last year cost him $25 million. So, I mean, not that he doesn't already have a couple $100 million laying around, but when it's a $25 million hit, I think that gets your attention, and he would be out of baseball forever and ever and ever. So, and he doesn't have Balco and all those people that he worked with before. So, by this time in his career, for him to get something new going, and I think steroids are coming back. But nobody wants to give A-Rod credit. He was a huge star in Miami as a kid, as a teenager. He went to Seattle and he did his thing there, and I don't know when he started using steroids. But whatever it was, they take a lot back. But A-Rod passed Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth on the RBI list, I believe it was, this last week, and hitting home runs and still pretty much looking like A-Rod's a great baseball player. And you got to give the devil his due. He's doing it without steroids and without artificial aid. But people don't want to give him any credit whatsoever. And you think, okay, how much of his career was spent batting against roided up pitchers? Which, okay, if you still hit a home run and the guy's throwing 99 instead of 92, and you're still able to hit him because you're doing steroids, you've leveled the playing field. And I'm a fan of A-Rod's. Yeah, he's a hell of a baseball player. And, much like Tom Brady, the rule's there. And he broke it, but, it's not like everybody else wasn't doing it too. And that's the only way really to fight back. You fight fire with fire, Mark. What do you say when Roger Clemens is pitching and Barry Bonds is batting? Okay, who has the advantage there? This guy's throwing harder and this guy's batting quicker. Okay, that's a tie where I come from.
Okay.
So anyway, Ryan Clady went down for the Denver Broncos, the tackle that keeps people from hitting Peyton Manning from the blind side. And there's not a lot of starting tackles running around in the NFL. Just say, hey, listen, I'm really good, put me in. So their second string guy, next man up. The next guy, but it affects their depth. If it had happened before the draft, it certainly would have affected who they took in the draft. But it didn't, and so they're stuck with this season could already be lost for the Denver Broncos. They're really, really going to have to scramble, and I am almost positive that will affect the betting. It might not have done it immediately, but over the course of the year, this will have a huge impact. If you're letting somebody hit your 39 or 40-year-old quarterback or however old Manning is now, there's rarely anything good come out of that, Mark. Odd week. We're coming up to here we are 3/4 of the way through our show, Mark, and we're coming up to the Belmont.
Yep.
I guess it's the June 6th, first Saturday in June, and we have a Triple Crown possibility with American Pharoah. There's horses chicken crappily waiting in the wings to only have run the Belmont. And I think they limit the number, or they control the horses that are entered into the Kentucky Derby. And to me, it's very similar to having a marathon and having a triathlon at the same time. Say, okay, we've only got one trophy.
Yeah.
You guys run the triathlon, and these guys are only going to run the marathon. We'll see who wins. Well, you know what? If I'm going to swim 1.5 miles and ride my bicycle for 100 miles and then run a marathon, I'm probably not going to have as much chance to win as the guy who's only running the marathon. And I think that's what horse racing has done to itself with the Triple Crown. If American Pharoah wins it, I think he will have earned it more than any other horse before him to have done so, simply because they allowed this. And, if they would just say, okay, to run in the Belmont, you've had to have run at least the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness beforehand to run in this one race. You want to be on the card that day? Great. Bring your horse and we'll show them off. You want to go to the Breeders' Cup, your horse doesn't have to do anything but do what they do, and then bring them to the Breeders' Cup, train them however you want. But
all right,
for the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness to have counted, the last piece of that puzzle is the Belmont Stakes, and they're not doing a real good job in this. And horse racing could use a light under their a fire under their butts. They're somewhat stagnant. So,
all right, this is going to be an abbreviated show.
Clay Thompson out for the Golden State Warriors. 6 days now. Everybody has a chance to rest up. 6 days now until the NBA Finals start. LeBron James, 5th finals in a row with 2 different teams. Only man in basketball to do that. People question LeBron and this and that, but honest to God, his team's in the finals every frickin' year for 5 years. So there's got to be something about that guy that makes it special. And when he puts that team on his back and carries them, they're fun to watch. But they're doing without Kevin Love. Kyrie Irving's banged up. Everybody's beat up some. And now Golden State, Stephen Curry took a terrible fall over Trevor Ariza and got back in and got up and got back into the game. They went through the concussion protocol. Klay Thompson got hit with the knee, and his ear was bleeding, and he had to sit out, and then the concussion symptoms showed up afterwards. And so he's out. They're saying indefinitely, but there's 6 days between now and the start of the finals, and I would imagine I will doubt very seriously whether it will keep him from any games. If it was tonight they started, I don't think he'd play, but I think with 6 days, it wasn't like he got hit in the head with a bat or a ball. He got kneed in the head, and it looked almost like a glancing blow, and it did catch him right in the ear enough where it made his ear bleed. So anyway, some interesting things going on. Golf. Rory McIlroy screwed up, I think his last 2 rounds were 78 and 80, number 1 in the world, and he was in danger of missing the cut. And so guys, you can't miss. There's guys that say the basket looks like a hula hoop some days, and the next day it looks like a Cheerio. And it's the same guy out there shooting at the same basket, and it's just some days you're the windshield, and some days you're the fly, and so I guess it happens in all sports anyway, buddy. So, well, Mark, thanks so much. Sorry about the delay, but always a pleasure. How was the Pro Bull Riders? They were in town. I didn't see much in the paper. I didn't see much on the news. I didn't see much of anything. So
it was a great sport. They had it outside. If they do it again next year, they need a smaller arena. It was just.
Was it well attended, or did it look like just a gathering instead of a crowd?
No, it was well attended. Having all of the concerts and the festivities around it helped bring in the folks. Of course, we had the mild earthquake, the rain, all of that. So it made for and of course the Brazilian won.
And all I did was tell one little SOB how much I thought, what a great job I thought he did in The Wizard of Oz, and sure shit, I don't get to go anymore. To protect the innocent and myself.
Yes.
There will be no names exchanged. All right,
There's
buddy.
a post up on
I guess we're going to wrap. We're going to wrap it up here, Mark. Interesting week. We'll be back on Thursday, and I promise to actually be here this time.
Okay.
No doctor's appointment scheduled. Nothing I see coming up. But the hockey, the Stanley Cup, it looks like it's going to be Rangers and Blackhawks. At least it looks like that to me. And that you're talking about 2 of the original 6. And it can be fun if it's and the Anaheim Ducks. Even the people in Tampa and Anaheim aren't really going to give a damn. So, just kind of see how these Game 7s work out. But there's stuff going on, man. So, all right, who you liking? You think American Pharoah's going to win the Triple Crown, or is he going to get screwed in the Belmont like so many have in the last few years?
I think he's going to pull it off. I think he is.
All right.
So. All right, next week? Next week?
Next week, I'm ready.
All right.
We can just stay on the air and just run it right through if you like.
All right, I will talk to you next week. Sign off.
All right, buddy. All right. And, folks, thanks once again for listening. For all of us here at Good Sports, I'm Rosen. For Mark Anthony, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week. Bye.